As we all know, climate change is a big problem in today's society. And we have heard numerous times that if we do not change the way we live, then we will doom the earth and we will all die. Well, we heard that back in the 80s and the 90s and even today. So, what is the big problem with climate change and how do we solve it? Well, climate change is a huge impact on our daily lives. And the thing is, people think that it doesn't really affect them right now. And who knows, in our lifetime, maybe not. But most certainly in your children's lifetime and your grandchildren's lifetime. So if you don't do it, if you don't help fight against climate change for yourself, do it for the future generations who are going to be impacted by this. This is especially important when you remember that our children will be the ones who face these problems, according to the Toronto Star of May 7, 2022. So if you have children, it is your duty to take care of them and help them enter a earth that is not broken. You don't want them entering a world where life already sucks and that it's going to be up to them to solve it, right? And another problem is that climate change is causing the Earth to get hotter, and on average of 1.6 degrees, according to the Visalan Times on September 8, 2022. And this might seem like a small amount, but our ecosystem is a very delicate, and even this seemingly small change has big impacts in the environment, and many species cannot adapt enough to keep up. And with climate change, what other problems come with it? First off, extreme heat waves, wildfires, and floods, according to the Straits Times as August 4, 2022. As we all know and have experienced these effects, especially in California, we had a 7-day heat wave that was absolutely brutal, many wildfires, and floods in other areas as well, but not really California. But these heat waves are only gonna keep getting worse. 10 years from now, we'll look back and say, dang, do you remember back in 2022 when we only had a heat wave for 7 days instead of 3 weeks? That's how it's gonna be if we don't change our lifestyle right now. And I don't want to be living in that type of world. Another big problem is that food shortages are going to occur also. Even also right now, we're experiencing food shortages due to droughts and fires and changing ecosystems where maybe the crops are not as suitable for that land anymore. So we have to work against this with utmost haste. So what are the causes behind climate change? First off, greenhouse gas emissions, according to the New York Times, October 5th, 2022. This is especially caused by humans and livestock. Humans love meat. We all like eating hamburgers and pork and hot dogs, but a lot of the meat we eat has to be raised, and the cost to raise these animals is incredibly high. Most of the vegetables that we produce are mainly go to feeding these animals. A lot of the water also goes to feeding these animals. And especially beef. Cows produce a lot of methane and are a big contributor to the amount of greenhouse gas emissions in our environment right now. They're one of the main reasons why there's so much pollution in the environment, and it's causing the world to get higher. Just because tons of cows releasing billions of tons of methane into the environment. And another big one is overconsumption of resources in high-income countries, according to the Western Daily Press, October 22nd, 2021. In Hollywood today, we see a lot of celebrities who use obscene amounts of water for their properties, and a lot of people in the US are especially wasteful. Many of us indulge ourselves in 30-minute showers. We often threw a lot of our food away instead of just saving it. And these contributions are so wasteful that we take it for granted. And eventually we won't be able to live this type of lifestyle anymore just because of how selfish and of how how much it uses, and that's really not that great. So what are the solutions to climate change? Well, first off, what California can do is reduce greenhouse gases. They can do this by building more renewable energy places like nuclear power plants, windmills, and solar. These would help cut down greenhouse gases immensely, especially since we also use a lot of oil in order for to power our electricity. And the main one that a lot of people can do is just consume less. We all remember when very recently in Orange County there was a power shortage, and they had to send out a text message to a lot of people saying, hey, can you please turn off your lights when you're not using them? That would help out a lot, or else there might be power shortages in certain areas. And look at the effects of that. That one message, and there were no power outages that night. And that's really incredible how just a small action can have a really big impact. And what we can do individually is reduce the amount of beef we eat. And according to the Boston Globe, February 24, 2022, again, like I said earlier, meat is very wasteful. It takes a lot of energy and resources just to raise them. And the byproducts that they make aren't especially good for the environment, especially on the scale that cows are raised. And also, we should be leaning more towards eating more vegetables instead of eating meat, so that we stop the need for having to raise livestock. And also, we need to start using less everything. Turn off the lights when you're not using them. Stop taking those hour-long showers. And stop throwing your food away. All right, a lot of time and resources goes into making the food you eat, and it's just so wasteful to throw it away and waste it, because then eventually you do get hungry again, and then you repeat the process over. And we need to start learning that we cannot take these things for granted, especially in our current climate. So again, I talked about why, like, climate change and the problems that climate change causes, and the reasons behind climate change, and how to fix and fight against it. Again, it's a big problem, and it requires massive action on everybody's part in order for us to allow a future that is stable and plentiful for the future generations.